Stop trying to find yourself. Stop searching for this answer to greatness, you know, meditating and going on adventures and retreats and things, hoping that one day you'll just discover the answer. That's not how it fucking works. Greatness is earned. Greatness is built. This idea that you'll just one day stumble upon who you were meant to be isn't the case. It comes from showing up and doing the work. It comes from suffering. Like, as bad as it sounds, it comes from getting uncomfortable and doing things that require more work than most people are willing to give. This idea that we're going to wake up one day and we're going to discover our passion and we'll follow through, and it's just fucking fantasy land. And I have people in my life who do this. They're constantly going on new adventures to find themselves, and yet each time they come back more and more depressed and more lost, because you don't find yourself out there. You find yourself in here. You find yourself from doing the inner work. And nothing reveals character and who you truly are more than grinding and doing difficult things. Showing up daily and doing work. Taking on tasks that seem near impossible. There is a concept called, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of this, Myogi. And it is the concept that you undertake a task at least once a year that pushes you well beyond your limits, that the chance of success is at best 50%. And you have to commit. You have to go all in, and it takes you so far outside of your comfort zone. And it's something that in the moment requires 100% concentration and dedication to that task. And they find that people who undertake these things every year lead happier and more fulfilled lives, achieve more things, are less daunted by stress, suffer less anxiety. Because in that moment, it's usually a day or so task, and sometimes longer. I was reading one, it's in the Comfort Crisis. I think he was there for 36 days hunting in Alaska. These are things that push you so far past what the normal expectation is that everything else just kind of fails in comparison after that. And it's this concept that you're just going to wake up one day and you're going to find yourself, or you're, living free to discover yourself. I've said it before, and it's not my words, but discipline equals freedom. It comes from Jocko Willink. And there is so much truth in it, that people want to seek these ultimate freedoms and they just want to have no responsibilities and no burdens. No, you need to have ultimate discipline and refine the process, and it creates freedom, because then you can do the things you want to do in your life. When you dedicate yourself all in, like the 126 list that has to be completed every single day for 126 days, with no exceptions, with no deviation, showing up with a zero choice mentality. Ultimate discipline, but it creates the ultimate freedom, because it frees you up from having to think about making these choices. It frees you up from needing motivation and this force to push you forward, because you're just gonna fucking do it. You've said you were gonna do it, and it creates this discipline. But the longer we put off this process of building the man you want to be, because that's what it is. It's not finding it. It's not discovering it. It's not waking up one day and there you are. You're the man you always wanted to be. No, you build it, and it's gonna hurt. You need to imagine yourself as a large, giant block of marble, and you're going to take a hammer and you're going to chisel away, and you're going to sculpt out physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually the man that you know you should be. This is part of chasing greatness. There is a bit of sacrifice involved, and yet sacrifice isn't even the right terminology, because sacrifice implies losing something. This is gaining something. This is gaining the man that you know you should be. This is gaining the discipline, the fortitude, the focus, the capacity to do the things that you know you want to do and should be able to do. It is gaining the capacity to lead the greatest life, to inspire your children, your wife, and all those you lead and those around you. There is an ROI like no other on this. The return on investment is astronomical from undergoing something like this. Not only that, but it'll separate you like nothing else will from the mediocre, from the average, from those people who are just drifting through life on their way to a sad death. You'll step into your greatness. Your life will have meaning and fulfillment. And with every action, you step forward into a better version of yourself. And it's not an instant process, and it's an ongoing thing. This isn't a one-off thing. You do 126 days and boom, there you are for the rest of your life. No, but it begins this journey into something incredible. And once you complete the 126, then you can go on to the next phases and discover even more that you have barely scratched the surface of who you could be. But the problem is, the longer we delay this, the longer we put off truly putting in the work to find out who we are, who we were meant to be, who we are underneath all the self-gratification and the dopamine chasing, the less likely it is that you're ever going to find it. All those people that you admire, all those people who have achieved great things that you're like, man, I wish I could be them. They went through the struggles. They showed up and did the work. It wasn't like they just woke up one day and they did that stuff. They put in the work. They sacrificed the things that the average people look as sacrifices. And instead, you should look at them as willing tributes to your greatness. You know, if you haven't read any of Stephen Pressfield's books, especially this one, War of Art, I would strongly recommend you fix that. But he talks about the muse. And you've got to make your tributes to the muse. You've got to surrender to the muse. And when it comes to chasing greatness, and whatever your greatness might be, whether that's business, whether that's being the best father, the best husband, the best man, whether it's just being better around the house, or it's being physically better, or all of the above, you must surrender to the muse. You must provide tribute. And that means probably giving up junk food, alcohol, drugs, dopamine chasing, social media, porn, drugs, addiction-driven things that mean you are not in this seat, that you aren't sitting down on a daily basis in the same position doing the things to progress you forward, that aren't challenging you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, these things that aren't pushing you to the next level. These are the things that we must undertake. And it is a daily ritual. I was having this discussion the other day. I was like, if it wasn't such a heavy term, I'd call it a religious practice, because you are literally, day in, day out, going to repeat the same things. You're going to show up in the same place and repeat the same practices to appease the universe, God, whoever you want to call it, whatever you want to deem it, the muse, I don't care. But you show up and you do this religiously every single day. And it becomes a practice. It becomes this is how I get better. And it comes from physical. Like, you need to, if you want to call it the tributes, you have to contribute sweat. You have to contribute effort. You have to contribute time. You have to contribute pain. Like, you have to push through these components to become best version of yourself. And yes, the physical component is a large portion of it. But the physical component is the tool that allows you to unlock the rest. It's not the purpose, it's the byproduct. But we use that as the tool to build into the other things. You know, as I discussed recently, I really recently discovered that the weighted walks that I had to, put in years ago has another term. It's also called rucking. Who fucking knew? So I've recently discovered the standards for rucking. And to be honest, they are mind fucking boggling. But I love a challenge. I love something that's going to push me outside of my comfort zone, that is going to drive me to be my best version. So for them, it is roughly 1.5 Ks every 15 minutes with between 20 and 25 kilos. So currently I'm at 20 kilos and I am not getting anywhere near that fucking number. And that annoys the shit out of me. So every day since then, and we're granted it's like 4 days ago, I have gone out and pushed it harder and pushed it harder and pushed it harder. And I'm discovering that I really was cruising because I was doing about 3Ks in 45 minutes. Pretty averagely 3Ks. Wasn't much effort. Got it up to 3.5Ks today. Like I am working. So I've added 500 meters in that 4 days. And I've got another K to add into that. And I'm like, how much harder can I push myself? How much harder can I work? The answer is apparently another K harder. But this is what it's about. It's about finding these things that push you outside of your comfort zone. And yeah, I'm failing. I'm coming up short on that. And yet every time I do it and I find another gear and I get further, like I got so much further than I thought I would today. There is that satisfaction and that fulfillment and that joy of like, all right, I have more. I have more in the tank. There is more to be gotten from this. That is true satisfaction. And then it leads into all areas of your life. That ability to push through the work, to push through the grind, to find that next level. I was asked that today by some clients as we were working out. They were like, I hear that someday you just end up liking working out. Haven't gotten there yet. And they asked me, is that true? And I was like, I think it is true. You'll get there eventually that you enjoy it. They're like, do you like it? And I was like, I fucking love it. I work out for fun. If my workout wasn't hard enough, I get shitty with myself. I love that feeling. I love the feeling of it hurting, of it burning, of when other people would quit and I go, I think I've got another one. When my body is screaming at me to quit and I'm like, I've got more in the tank. Yeah, I love that. And that's been built and refined, especially by this process. And it makes me a better person because that shows up in all areas of life. It doesn't mean I get it perfect all the time. Absolutely fucking not. But I can see it in the way I deal with my kids. It's the way I deal with stress. It's the way I deal with incidents that arise. You know, there have been situations very recently that even my partner is struggling with, and she's stressed to the head, and everyone keeps asking me, oh, you must be so stressed out. And I'm like, I'm fine. It's all good. Because in the grand spectrum of things, they don't matter. And after doing this, after pushing through 126 and doing this daily, no, they don't even become a blip on the radar. It's not life or death. The stress is manufactured. We'll figure it out. It's fine. And that's part of why we do this, so that you learn these skills, to learn to understand what actual stress and problems are, and that realizing that the majority of them are fucking manufactured in your head and aren't real. Legitimately, for most things, unless you are going to die, everything can be figured out. Whether the resolution is to your satisfaction is a different story, but everything can be figured out, worked out, and resolved in some manner. And as long as you've got discipline and fortitude and grit, you can rebuild anything. So yeah, those problems aren't really big problems. And even down to things like patience and understanding. And I don't say this to brag, but just things that have been said to me. I have a lot of people who tell me how incredibly patient and understanding I am with my kids. And to be honest, I just think of that as how it should be. But I think it's also come from this. Doing 126, doing these daily difficult tasks teaches you patience. It teaches you Zen. It teaches you that nothing is worth causing problems over, mountains out of molehills. It teaches you to be relaxed and in the situation. And as I said, am I perfect? No. Especially this week, I have been sleep deprived as shit, and I think it's getting to me. Because the first time in a long time, I snapped at my daughter today. And that was fucking awful. And it was a momentary lapse. But it was that. But with this, I now get to redefine the situation. I apologized. We made up. It wasn't her fault. That was my fault. And Daddy got to own his mistake. And I got to turn it into a teaching lesson that adults are wrong and we make mistakes. And it is never okay for me to take out my frustration on her. And we moved on. But you need to go through these difficult situations to come out the other side, to learn how to mitigate when shit hits the fan, and to push through on all these situations. And I still have lots of learning to do. I have more patience to gain from doing this. It is an ever evolving thing. It's not like you just, as I said, it's not like you reach one point and you're like, I'm perfect now. No. Today highlighted, and this rucking thing highlighted, that I have more work to do. But I'm a hell of a lot further along the process than I was 89 days ago. I'm a much more calm and in control person because I am learning through this process what truly matters, what truly is stress. And also because on the daily, I will push myself to my limits. I will make myself as uncomfortable as possible. The stress that life can throw at you cannot compare to a man who deliberately and intentionally every single day seeks out discomfort to see how he will respond, to place himself in uncomfortable situations, to carve away at the shit that does not serve him, to test his character, to find out who he truly is. And this is why we must do it. This is why we must undertake challenges and gauntlets and put ourselves through rigors like this, that we cannot accept sedation and mediocrity, that we must choose the uncomfortable path, the road less traveled. We must choose these paths every single day. Not just for us, for our kids, for our wives, for those all around us that we lead and serve, so that we can be the best version of ourselves. So that when we finally come to the end of our lives, that we can look back and not go, oh, well, I suddenly ate a lot of junk food, watched a lot of TV, yanked on my dick a lot, scrolled a lot of social media. You can look back and go, no, I completed that challenge. I completed that challenge. I worked my ass off in the pursuit of something great. I led my kids by example. Look at these amazing things we did together as a family. These are the things that I taught my children through my actions. Look at who they become and who their children became. Look at the life I lived and led. When we get to the end of our life, we don't regret the things that we did. We regret the things that we didn't do. And I cannot imagine a life that is more valuable, that is more enjoyable and worth living than going out every day to seek your greatness. And as I said, your greatness might vary from mine, and that is fine. I feel like I've been put on this earth to do something great, to change lives, to impact, to leave a legacy for my family. But at the same point, I need to show up in person for them every single day. They need to see Daddy being the best version, leading by example, not absent, but present. And these things allow me to do that. Is it easy to find time to do those things? No, absolutely not. Most of my workouts happen at 6 a.m. and most of my work gets done between 7:30 and midnight. It's a slog at the moment, but it's one that's worth living. It's one that's worth doing, to leave this legacy behind, to live this best life. I don't know about you, but I want to get to, as I said, to my deathbed and look back and go, look at all the incredible things I did. Look at the amazing people my children are. Look at what we did because I chose to give up the instant gratification, that dopamine chasing, to pursue something greater. And even if I don't do anything other than show my children what a good life looks like through honor, through love, through fulfillment, through hard work and effort, and the pursuit of something greater. If that's all I ever do, and I don't achieve anything else, and I teach them these lessons, then that's a life worth living. Then I won in life. Everything after that is just a bonus. So I think that's worthwhile. I think that's how we should look at it. That this is for our kids. That you need to show up and live your best life. And even if that's all that you get from it, is teaching them to do the same. Teaching them that they don't have to unlearn all the things that we did. That they don't have to start from this giant slab of marble and cut away all the bullshit. If you can teach that, if you can teach by leading by example, so that from the get-go, they start on the best foot forward. Don't you think that's the best gift you could ever give to your children? A loving, caring, present father who is engaged, who is chasing his dreams, who is chasing greatness, who is a physical specimen of the best version he could be, who shows what discipline and fortitude and hard work can achieve. I don't know about you, but I'd be pretty damn happy with that as an outcome. So that's what I'll leave you with. So if you're ready to start chasing greatness, if you're ready to start doing the things that are going to deliver your version of greatness, they're going to carve away that marble and start sculpting you into the father, husband, and man that you know you should be. You know where to find me. Until then.